In the United States, there's an estimated 380,000 guns stolen every year. More than half of those coming from people's cars. Now, I've made a lot of videos about the foolishness of leaving guns in your cars and the foolishness of having your guns stolen. And I mean, I go on and on. I'll just state it. A gun should either be on your person or in a safe all the time. Anything outside that, you're just risking your gun being stolen. And again, there's things you could do to avoid having your gun stolen, and that's not what this video is about. But a peculiar thing about stolen guns that we've been slowly finding out is that most of them are coming from very pro-Second Amendment states like Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, and they're crossing lines. And at least 28,000 guns that have been recovered from violent crimes that were stolen, we now know have been traded, not for cash, but this particular study, 28,000 guns came from Idaho. And they went across state lines for drugs, mostly methamphetamines, coming from California and Mexico. In other words, what's taking place with your 380,000 stolen guns, and this is just a look at Idaho, is that they're being traded for drugs from Mexico and California. Now think about that for just a moment. So drugs are coming up from the south. They're coming from Mexico. They're coming from California. And when you trade those for firearms, there's a few things that's taking place in that transaction. Number one, it's going towards firearms are being fed to drug dealers. That's a guarantee right there. Firearms are being fed to drug dealers, and people are stealing guns because they need drugs. So you have this system of violence with firearms revolving around really a major drug problem. Now, I want to kind of step back a little bit and say that being pro-Second Amendment, I strongly believe that citizens should own guns because clearly the criminals have guns. I strongly believe citizens should own guns because it's your God-given right to be able to protect yourself from any threat. Second Amendment aside, it's your God-given right. I don't care whether you're an American or a Canadian or you live in India or wherever you live, it is your God-given right to protect yourself and your family and your possessions with a firearm if necessary, with weapons, so to say. The problem with this scenario, though, is that we have guns as citizens and the criminals have guns, the drug dealers and the violent criminals have guns that they've gotten illegally, traded for drugs, but they're getting their guns from us. Now just think about that for a second. If you leave your gun in your car and it gets stolen, most likely it's going to be sold or traded to a criminal. Or it's just, well, for starters, a criminal has it because they committed a crime breaking into your car. So now a criminal has your gun and they're going to sell it to somebody for drugs or cash. And those people are going to be criminals because why would they buy a gun from that guy when they can just go to the gun store if they weren't criminals? So we're really feeding the violent criminals coming from Mexico and California and the drug dealers coming from Mexico and California because we're too stupid to get our guns out of our car. I mean, just that's the problem that I'm having. Because we're too stupid to get our guns out of our car. It's the private citizens, the ones saying, hey, we deserve the right to have firearms because these criminals, they're going to have firearms, whether we have them or not. And yet we're the ones giving them to them. I mean, in a roundabout way, you're the ones giving them to them, because typically guns are stolen from people that are flaunting their guns, so to say. Places that are targeted are arenas, shopping malls, that sort of thing, and they're driving around, because if you go to a football game, you got, 30, 40, 50,000 people all inside a building while all their cars are out in the parking lot unattended, and criminals, they know you can't bring your gun in. So they drive up and down the roads or the rows, and they're looking for somebody that has a sticker on their car that says protected by Smith & Wesson or I'm pro Second Amendment. And then they break into your car and they steal your gun. Best case scenario, your car gets broken into. Worst case scenario, your car gets broken into and now they have your guns. And then they're going to take that gun that they just stole from you and they're going to sell it or trade it for drugs to a violent criminal or a drug dealer. This is how it's playing out. And when you have so many guns, 28,000 guns, I mean, come on, 28,000 guns from one state. Now, a lot more guns were stolen. Now, Idaho is just part of this study. So, just pick an on Idaho for a second here. But these are just the guns recovered from crimes. More guns were stolen that still haven't been recovered. These are just the ones recovered from crimes. And 28,000 guns were traded for drugs is how this played out. That somebody stole guns, over 50% from cars. And you might say, well, FFLs, people are breaking in FFLs. Now think about this for a second. 380,000 guns stolen last year in 2023. Fact. Only 18,000 of those guns came from FFLs. So, maybe about 0.3%. I haven't done the math, but it sounds like about 0.3% of the guns came from FFLs. The rest of them, the other 99 point whatever, came from us, the citizens. It's irresponsibility on our part. And we're feeding the drug dealers guns, and then we're also yelling and hey, we need to be able to protect ourselves from these violent criminals, so we need guns. And I just share this video because get your guns out of your cars. Like, just get the guns out of your cars. I mean, think about it. When you have 380,000 guns stolen and more than 50% of them, that's roughly 200,000 guns stolen from cars in 2023. And they have been traded for drugs, mostly methamphetamines coming from Mexico and California. So you're just feeding that entire system. And you're feeding the drug system in your community too, because if a drug addict is breaking into your car to steal your gun so he can or she can trade it for drugs, the drugs are coming to your town. They're coming. They're coming to your town. If they can get guns from your town, drugs are coming to your town. Just stop the flow of stolen guns by just don't leave your gun in your car. For the love of God, don't leave your gun in your car. Just make that thing stop. But right now, what we know is 28,000 guns from Idaho. And again, this was just part of the study. You could probably repeat this in every state. Traded for drugs from California and Mexico. I don't know what else to say. Get your guns out of your car. Any thoughts or insight on this? Definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment and say most people who watch this channel, non-subscribers, click that subscribe button. Greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. So please don't ever, ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, love guns.